Today's episode is sponsored by Midwest Fire. For more than 20 years, Midwest Fire has been manufacturing high-quality tankers, tanker pumpers, and fire rescue vehicles in the United States and Canada. Keeping firefighters safe while enhancing their capabilities is what they do best. To learn more, go to MidwestFire.com.
Hi, this is Captain Joe Perneski from the Elyria, Ohio Fire Department, and you're listening to Dr. Richard B. Gassaway on SA Matters Radio. His mission is simple. He wants us to see the bad things coming in time to avoid bad outcomes.
Hello, and welcome to episode 75 of the Situational Awareness Matters radio show. I'm your host, Rich Gassaway. The purpose of this show is to improve situational awareness and decision-making for individuals and teams who work in high-risk, high-consequence environments. The SA Matters mission is simple: to help you see the bad things coming and time to avoid bad outcomes. If you've experienced or witnessed a near miss and would like to have a platform to share your lessons learned with others, please contact me by visiting the SAMatters.com website and clicking on the Contact Us link at the top of the homepage. Have you ever thought about this? Your lessons learned from a near miss could save someone else's life? Think about that for a moment. And if you're willing to share your experience, contact me. I'm coming to you today from Bloomfield, Michigan, where I'm in town to deliver a mental management of emergencies program for the members of the Bloomfield Township Fire Department. I was also in Plainfield Township, Michigan on Saturday, which is near Grand Rapids, delivering the same program. Today's guest is Shawn Rafferty. Shawn is the creator of the Safety Blueprint, a program aimed at teaching you how to be safer through observational and situational awareness techniques. Shawn has extensive military and law enforcement experience, including tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, having worked as a security coordinator, protective security specialist, a federal agent, and even having run his own martial arts school. Shawn has the know-how and an easy demeanor that makes it simple to learn tried and true techniques that can help you avoid conflict before it reaches you. So let's jump into our interview with Shawn Rafferty.
Thanks, Rich. Thanks for having me on. I'm super excited today.
I'm glad to have you here because this is a real hot topic right now for the first response community. Before we dig too deep into the topic, Shawn, let's establish a little cred here and let you tell the listeners about your background, because it's, I read your background and I think to myself, this guy's a genuine badass.
I wish.
So I set the bar high for you there with that one.
Yeah.
So just go ahead and just kind of frame up your background so that the listeners know the frame you're coming from.
Well, I've been involved in the security space for about 20 years. After graduating high school in 1991, I joined the Marine Corps, served in the Marine Corps Infantry for about 4 years. Left that, came back home, went to college, got bored with that. Then I became a corrections officer, did that for about 3.5 years. Then I transitioned to being a police officer. Did that for a little bit over a year and a half. Kind of didn't like the job so much and didn't like the aspect of telling people what to do. And then I found out about security work overseas, so I went over to Kuwait. This is right when the buildup was going for the invasion into Iraq. So I did force protection work over there. Basically, it's like working as a military police role. And once the war started, in September 2003, I went into Iraq and I started training Iraqis, part of the Ministry of Oil Security Force. I did that for a few months and then transitioned into another security job working as a coordinator, basically overseeing a guard force or a security force for aspects of for a company that was responsible for fixing the oil infrastructure in Iraq, like be it pipelines or refineries. So we had various installations we had to monitor. We had to do motorcade operations and things like that. And then I left that after about 8 months and started working for a company called Blackwater, doing protection for U.S. dignitaries in Iraq. So I did that for about, I'd say 4 or 5 years. Left that when my son was born in 2007. And had opened up my own martial arts school. Did that for about 1.5 years, and the economy started taking a dive right around that time. Mixed in with some other issues, just me not planning properly. And then went back to work for Blackwater, went to Afghanistan for a little bit, then went back to Iraq. And I left Iraq in 2010 and worked as a firearms instructor for about 3 months, training State Department officials. And then I left that to work as a federal agent for the Department of Commerce, working specifically on the Secretary of Commerce Protection Detail. So I did that for about 3.5 years, and I quit when my daughter was born in 2013 to be a stay-at-home dad / developed a business that I'm working on now. And so that's it in a nutshell.
Okay. Well, a long and varied background in security, military, law enforcement, and safety. So what inspired you to go in the direction of creating the business model that you have now, and what are you hoping that the folks that you work with would learn or become better at as a result of what you're offering?
Well, basically, I looked around, and I guess I noticed it before, but I really started looking at people in general, and even people that I work with, because complacency strikes us all, even in your community. And so I started looking at the average person, which, when you break it down, it's more than the average. It's probably 95% of the people out there. That a lot of people focus on the physical aspects of self-defense, meaning what they're going to do when they're actually attacked. But what I started thinking about was, well, you know what? If you wait to that moment and all you're doing is prepping for when somebody attacks you, well, that's kind of not a good strategy, because what if that person's bigger, faster, stronger than you? What if they have a gun? What if they have a knife? Or what if they're more experienced than you? So now you spend all this time planning on the physical part of it, when you left out the biggest, most important aspect of good personal safety, and that's developing good situational observational awareness. Because if you have those two things, and you're paying attention to your surroundings, you're being observant of the people around you, you're not putting yourself in positions that will cause you to become a victim, then you can 9 times out of 10 avoid being victimized. And so I was like, well, how can I help these people? And that's why I kind of developed this video training program that I developed, and which teaches people just how to have heightened levels of situational observational awareness. So that's where that came from. And being that I was a martial arts instructor, and I know that when I used to teach people, I would talk about stuff like this, but generally you're spending most of your time teaching people techniques because you don't have a lot of time. So you don't have time to sit and talk for 20 minutes in an hour-long class about situational awareness, because they're there to have you teach them some type of martial arts, right? So, and another caveat to that, even if you do take martial arts, even if you do carry a weapon, are you being trained properly? Are you being trained realistically to be able to do the things that you need to do in a real life situation? Because, like, say for instance, if say you're training, you're in your class learning how to break a choke, someone's choking you, and you're in a very nice positive environment where everybody's friendly, and you're used to being in that environment, but then when in reality you're walking on the street and a guy that outweighs you by 150 pounds and that's high on some type of drugs, and he's maybe homeless on top of that, so his body stinks, and now he's choking you, and you're blacking out, and he's screaming at you at the same time, and his bad breath and spit are hitting you in the face. It's a whole different scenario than when you're training that in a nice, quiet environment. Because just like as a fireman, you can't do virtual training about how to put out a fire. You have to physically go out and do it, because there's all kinds of aspects about putting out a fire, like the heat, all the things that can happen while you're trying to do that you can't replicate in a sterile environment. You can't do it. And same thing with law enforcement things, same thing with military. You can only replicate so much, but to get realistic training to prepare you for the real thing, you have to be as realistic as possible. So
for the first responders, my peers out there that are firefighters, EMS, wearing a uniform, but maybe not skilled in self-protection, maybe don't have vests or any kind of weaponry to protect themselves if they get attacked. So the focus really does need to be on awareness and prevention. And I know, as I've talked to some of my associates, there's a significant amount of concern that because we wear a uniform that we're going to be targeted like some police officers are being targeted. And, the fact that firefighters and EMS, I guess we kind of always see ourselves as the good guys and gals that are there to help and not make anybody worse, any situation worse. And to be the thought that we're going to be now targeted is not necessarily a mindset that we're used to having. So what are some of the things that should be part of our mindset, and some of the things that we should be doing as we try to heighten our vigilance about this thing that we're seeing in society with this indifference to authority?
Well, you are addressing a serious problem, but I will add this, that besides this problem that's growing trend, you have to be prepared anyway when you're going on to a volatile scene, because you might be responding to somebody that was injured during a domestic violence assault, and you don't know where that person might be. You don't know if there's other issues involved, and that could respond to further on attack. So my thing is this, that as a first responder, especially you guys, you're responding to a scene, you're going to put out a fire, you're going to help traffic accident, whatever. Sometimes we get involved in, we get that tunnel vision. So you're only seeing that incident. You're only seeing an injury, you're only seeing a fire, you're only seeing that right in front of your face. And you're forgetting about the big 360 degrees around you. So the first thing you have to do when you start responding to a scene, or you're going back to your station, or maybe you're stopping at, your truck pulls up at the grocery store, and your guys will all go out and eat in between calls. Go get some food in between calls or whatever. Before you stop anywhere, before you get out of your vehicle, before you respond to the scene, you have to assess the situation around you, the neighborhood, the parking lot, etc. Look around, see if there's anybody standing around that could be a threat. You have to learn body language. You have to learn, does that person belong in this environment? Why is this guy standing over there with that look on his face when everybody else is happy? Why is he not helping, trying to be more productive and helping out in the scene, or et cetera? Why is he just standing off? Why is, start addressing the scene. And if you start doing that, you start paying attention and stop being focused in tunnel vision, then the picture is going to open up to you. Because if there is a threat that's there, you might potentially see it now. But if anything, if you guys are starting to be a little more aware of what's going on around you, and you're picking up on things, and people are seeing that you're being a little more observant, and you're noticing them, that could be a deterrent, okay, obviously. And so to practice these skills, you have to get good at observation and being able to look at an individual to see, okay, does he have weapons on him? What can I be looking at? So basic thing real quick is, you see a potential threat, okay, he's giving you guys mean looks, maybe he's cursing at you, maybe he's upset, who knows? Where is his hands? Always pay attention to the hands. Are his hands visible? Because the hands will kill you either by themselves or with a gun, right? Or some type of knife. Then look at the body, scan the body. Look at the waistband, look at the pockets, look at anything that looks like it's protruding, anything that looks abnormal. Now, the guy's wearing a coat, guy has a backpack, etc., maybe a baggy shirt, then it's difficult to see if this person has any weapons, but you always pay attention to the hands. And then distance is your friend, right? Time and distance. When you look at potential, when you're looking at somebody who could be an issue at a scene or someplace else, have distance from you and that person, because that'll give you more reaction time. Try to place objects between you and that person. Another thing to do too is if you are responding to a scene, try to have maybe, I don't know how you guys can do this with your SOPs on your protocols. Everybody has a job, I guess, when they put out a fire or whatever. But if you're responding to a scene and there's one person, maybe the guy that stands back with the vehicles, I don't know how you guys do it, but have one person, maybe two people designated, and their whole job and responsibility is to pay attention to what's going on around. And if you have communications with each other, do you guys have communications usually in your helmets when you're on the scene, or how does that work?
We have portable radios.
Okay, so you can talk.
Most responders do. Sometimes just the officer has one. Sometimes everybody on the crew has one. In rare cases, maybe there will be none. I mean, that would be probably a rare exception that there wouldn't be, a portable radio among a crew.
Okay, so basically, I would have one person, maybe another. If you can spare two, have multiple people. Their whole job is to make sure they're looking around the scene. Okay. Now, a fire is a little bit different, but if you're going to a volatile scene, like the police call you to respond to an injured person, that was hurt during some type of violent incident, and maybe there's a crowd gathering around, right? Maybe there's something going on, and there's not enough police there to provide you guys with protection. Well, what happens is you, as the EMS guys or the EMT guys, they're sitting there focused on trying to help this person out that's injured, and they get the tunnel vision. They're only focused on that. So maybe have one person stand back that's kind of watching their back and looking around. That way, if there is a threat approaching or something is getting ready to happen, then that person can relay the information to the guys doing all the work. And that's kind of a quick fix on how you guys can deal with these situations. But it's kind of difficult, especially when you have people that are specifically targeted because you're wearing a uniform or whatever. It's really easy to find your fire station, right? So, and you guys drive around these big red vehicles, and so they kind of know where you're at. So the only thing you can do is really everybody be a part of paying attention to the area around them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what are some of the things that we should be doing when we're off duty? Even if we're out of uniform.
Well,
let's just assume that somebody recognizes us as a first responder, and we're pulling into the Walmart, or we're going into a grocery store, or we're going into a movie theater with our family. What are some of the things that relate to vigilance that we should be, as first responders, have a heightened alertness for?
Well, see, just when you're off duty, let's just say there's a threat against guys in uniform, but then you have also just the general threat of crime, right? So when you're off duty and you have a family, especially, you have to make sure everybody's on the same sheet of music. So if you go to a store, obviously, before you get out of your vehicle, you scan the parking lot, make sure there's nothing in there. And when you go inside, you're looking around, looking at individuals. Same thing when you're leaving your house, just kind of peek out the door first, see if there's anybody outside, go to your vehicle. When you're coming back, same thing. Like getting back with your family, if you say you go to a restaurant you brief your family and say, look, something happens, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go out the back exit, or we're going to go out the front exit, or we're going to hide behind this, or we're going to go in the bathroom and lock ourselves in, or we're going to exit out the kitchen. You know, everybody has to be on the same sheet of music on what you're going to do. But the main thing is being observant, right? You see individuals. If you walk into a room, wherever it is, you scan the crowd, right? You make sure everybody sees you doing that. And I don't mean look mean. I'm just saying be observant. Because a predator is going to prey on somebody who appears to be weak. So if you just walk into a room, especially if you have your family, and everybody's looking at their cell phone, and they're checking their Facebook status, and looking down, and they're not looking around, or you're out on the street, it's dark, you're waiting for a bus, or you walk into your car and it's dark in the parking garage and you're not even paying attention to what's going on around you, then you could easily fall prey to a predator that's just looking for an easy victim, because that's what they're looking for, that person that's not paying attention. They're looking for that person that appears to be weak. But even if you're not strong, even if you're not trained, if you're observant, looking around, and looking like you're paying attention to all the people around you, then that's going to be kind of a clue to those people. Like, hey, you know what? Granted, I got a gun. I might be able to take this guy out, but, you know, there's a chance he could put up a fight or say something before I get to him or whatever, and maybe I'll get caught. Maybe he'll hurt me, or I won't be successful, so I don't want to tempt that guy. I'm going to go down to this next guy over here who has been looking at his phone for the last 20 minutes. So the basic thing, easy things, pay attention to your surroundings, look what's going on around you. And if you're in a situation where you have to go to work every day at the same time or the same place every day, what you could do is vary your routes going to and from work, maybe the times, make it a little different. And what that'll do is that'll break up that time and place predictability, okay? Because maybe they don't want to attack you at your house, because maybe they know you have a big dog, or they know that you might have firearms or in your house. So they figure, well, I'm just going to get them in routes. So, and if they know your routes because you do the same thing all the time, then that makes it easy for them to pick a spot to get you. Same thing if you go to the grocery store every day at Tuesday, try to break that up a little bit. You know, tell your family, same thing. If you can't deviate from a specific way to get to work, then just make the times different, you know. So those are just some really basic, easy ways to start really focusing on paying attention. And especially when you're on scene, always be looking around. If you're working on somebody, stop for a second, or just while you're applying pressure or whatever, look around. If you're spraying the fire down, look around, you know, or, you know, if you're up on the ladder, that's not a big deal, but if you're down on the ground, look around, especially if there's crowds of people gathering, because you never know what's going to happen. You never know what the situation was that brought you there. There could be some underlying issues going on. If there's police around, the police could be the target, but you guys get caught up in it, right?
Right.
So,
what do you have any examples from your life's experience of times where you've had challenges with observational awareness or situational awareness, and you say, well, let me share one time where it kind of bit me or almost bit me, kind of thing?
Yeah, sure. I like to tell this story because there's underlying aspects involving situational awareness, being mentally prepared, and also, you know, what you get from the 911 calls, right? Because most of the time, we know how it is, right? The call that the operator gets, dispatcher gets, is usually the wrong information from what you get when you hit the scene, right? It's usually something, at least that's how it was when I was a police officer, you know, because people are panicky, frantic, whatever, they're not given the right information. So I was working in Kuwait, and this is right before the war started. The tension was high. There was a lot of issues. People were scared. They didn't know what was going to happen with Saddam, if he's going to gas Kuwait. and there was an anti-U.S. presence in the country that hated the fact that there was Americans there. So I was doing a vehicle patrol outside the base that I was working at, and I received a call over the radio stating that there was a traffic accident at outside one of the checkpoints out kind of a little ways from the base, which happens to be one of the ways that I go to and from work. So I responded to the call, say, yeah, I'm right down the street from there, let me take it. And then as I'm approaching the scene, I'm literally about 100 meters from it, I could see the vehicle. The call changed to, it was actually a shooting. Now, mind you, this is Kuwait, not downtown Chicago. There isn't very many shootings in that country. And I didn't have any armor on my vehicle, didn't have a body armor. I just had a rifle and a handgun, with a couple of magazines, ammunition. There was no backup coming yet. Part of me thinks that my backup was taking their time to get there because they were kind of nervous or scared about what was going to happen. But I didn't pull right up at the vehicle. I was about 50 meters away, and then I got my rifle out, and I cautiously approached the vehicle now. And the passenger was shot about 15 times with an AK through his door, and it went through him and it hit the driver. And the crazy thing about it, I forgot to mention this, but there was already an ambulance on scene that was working on the driver, but no Kuwaiti police. So that's kind of weird, don't you think? And so I'm looking around, and I figured the shots came from the right. Well, to the right was like this berm with like a hill and some scrubby trees and brushes, and here I am out in the open. Didn't know if the shooter was still there. So needless to say, the guy was gone. But the moral behind this is always be mentally prepared when you're going up to the scene. Even if it's a routine drunk guy passed out on the side of the grocery store, hit his head, so you respond and help him out. Or it's a traffic accident on the highway, or a simple house fire. Don't automatically get drawn into, it's just another routine thing. Always be ready for something else to happen, or if the call changes. Like me, I wasn't ready for that. I could have been ambushed because the guy could have been waiting for the first responders to show up, and he could have ambushed me. But he didn't, thank God. He wasn't there. And I know police officers go through stuff like this all the time, but I like this story because it showed several different things that were issues that were wrong that I should have been more aware of, and then obviously the 911 call. But so I like to bring that up because that parallels with what you guys are doing. You have to be ready for something to go off. You have to be ready for that situation to change.
Mm-hmm. Now, Shawn, I assume, in addition to just podcasting your message out, that you have some training that a first responder or a civilian could take a class? I don't know if this, if you're doing these live or you're doing them virtual, or how is it that somebody who wants to learn more could learn from you?
Yeah, so I developed initially I was doing this, I was going around doing like a live workshop, but that was, became somewhat difficult for time-wise. And so I developed a video training program. Right now I call it Safe Women, but I'm going to change the name to Safe Now. And basically it's 22 videos that takes the person, I developed them to dress like the average person that doesn't know anything. And I go start from teaching them about observational awareness to situational awareness. Then I do get into various scenarios that we all experience through our days, like parking your car in a garage, or getting on an elevator, or wearing your purse or backpack the correct way on your shoulder so they can't pull you out, or what type of shoes you should wear when you walk at night, all the way up to talk about terrorism. I talk about active shooter scenarios and how to survive that when basically you're not armed, how to call 911. I get into, I have a couple of classes about weapons, like firearms, because it's not like the firearms portion is not doesn't get to details about weights of the weapons and all that. It's more in lines of, if you've never really fired a gun, this is what it sounds like. This is what an AK-47 can do to a brick wall versus what you think it does in the movies. You know, so it's and I get into traumatic first aid, which you guys will be really experienced with. So that's what the program addresses, and in my opinion, it can apply to anybody, even to somebody who's experienced, because if you're not practicing good situational awareness, or if you're not really thinking about that, then you need to start thinking about it. So, but it's a great resource for the average person. So if you got a family member, if you have that special someone in your life that you think's walking around with their head in the clouds, this is for them.
Okay. And then you said there was, I think you said 22 videos?
Yeah, I have 22 videos total, and there's also audio versions for each video. So basically, if you're in your car and you can't watch the video, you can just pop the audio version on and listen to me blab a little bit. So
okay. And if a person wanted to, take the class beginning to end and watch all 22 videos or listen to all 22 audios, how much time commitment is this to do this?
Well, see, the great thing about it is you can watch the videos anytime you want, because there's actually the service I use. There's an app that they have where you can watch the videos off the app. So you can come back to it anytime. You can stop it. You can skip to the next one. But I think it's a total of like 5 hours altogether. But, if you're taking your time and watching it, and whenever you have the chance, it's at your own speed. So that's a good thing about it.
Okay. So it would take them a little while, but they don't have to go through it all at once. And then once they buy the program, do they have it like forever, or is it? Yeah, okay. It's not just for a limited amount of time, or
nope. You get it forever, and whenever I make any changes to it, then you'll automatically get the updates, which I will be making some changes to the videos and possibly adding more to it. So yeah, so you'll have that forever.
Okay, and where would they find this at?
Well, you can go to my website at thesafetyblueprint.com, mm-hmm. and I have a special offer for you guys. If you decide to purchase the videos, you can, at checkout, you can type in SAM on the promotion code, and that'll give you 50% off the course.
Oh, good. Yeah, there you go.
And then, if anything, I'm an open book for you guys. You can contact me on my email at Shawn at thesafetyblueprint, or I'm on Facebook, and I'm sure you're going to put that in the show notes, Rich?
Yep, sure am.
Okay. And I'm here if you have any questions, like even if it's something to deal with the first responder issues, feel free to get a hold of me. I'll do my best to see how I can help you out. So I have no problem doing that.
Okay. So for those who are listening, you can find Shawn at Shawn, and that's SHAWN, Shawn at thesafetyblueprint.com. You can find him on Facebook at facebook.com/safetyblueprint. You can find him on Twitter at safetyblueprint on Twitter, and then you can visit his website, thesafetyblueprint.com. Did I get all those right?
Yeah.
I don't want to hear anybody say, "Oh, I couldn't find him when I wanted to ask him a question." You're everywhere. They'll be able to find you. All they got to do is, if they just even Google search, I think, Safety Blueprint, they're probably gonna find you.
Okay.
Shawn, thank you so much for giving me the gift of your time today, and sharing some of your knowledge on how to have situational awareness and observational awareness. I think it's just a really time-appropriate message for the first responder community. So thank you for doing that.
No worries, and thanks again for letting me on your show, Rich. And once again, thank you, everybody, and please feel free to get a hold of me if you have any questions or concerns.
Thank you, Shawn, for being a guest on today's episode and for sharing your experience and perspective on observational and situational awareness. Before I close today's episode, I want to take a moment to thank the departments and the organizations that have hosted recent Situational Awareness Matters tour stops. Your efforts to bring this valuable and powerful training on situational awareness and high-risk decision-making to your members and to others in your region are greatly appreciated. Recently, I was at the National Fire Academy's Executive Fire Officer Program Graduate Symposium, where I delivered a 20-minute TEDx-inspired type presentation called Creating the Thinking Firefighter. I dedicated the previous episode to this podcast to sharing the audio of that presentation. Then I was in Plainfield, Michigan, delivering a mental management of emergencies program in Bloomfield Township, where I am now. By the time this episode airs, I will have already completed the keynote address for the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs Conference, Fire Rescue Canada. I will also have been to Delran, New Jersey, delivering a program on the same weekend that the Pope is in Philadelphia. So that will be interesting situational awareness exercise during Popapalooza, as somebody had sent me on social media. And then I will have already also delivered a program at the Ontario Fire College in Gravenhurst, Ontario, for the Fire Training Officers Association of Ontario. If you're interested in attending an upcoming SA Matters tour stop, on October 2nd and 3rd, I'll be at the Champions Fire Protection District in Houston, Texas. October 7th, I'll be giving a keynote address at Fire Shows West in Reno, Nevada. October 9th, I'll be at the New Hampshire Fire Chiefs Association Conference in Concord, New Hampshire. October 14 and 15, I'll be presenting at the Pearland Fire Department in Pearland, Texas. October 20, I'll be presenting at the Association of Air Medical Transport Conference in Long Beach, California. October 22nd, I'll be presenting at the Emergency Preparedness and Hazardous Materials Conference in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. October 26th and 27th, I'll be presenting for the Hampton Roads Fire Chiefs Association in Hampton Roads, Virginia. And October 29th, I'll be presenting for the Tennessee Department of Homeland Security in Knoxville, Tennessee. If you're interested in attending an upcoming Situational Awareness Matters tour stop, head over to the SAMatters.com website and click on the blue box on the right side of the homepage labeled Upcoming Event Schedule. Here's hoping there'll be a tour stop near you and we'll get a chance to meet up. If you're interested in adding your department or association to the lineup of tour stops, contact me through the SAMatters.com website and we'll get something set up for you. If you're not a member of the SA Matters community of learners, please consider joining. There are more than 5,000 members connected here on SA Matters, sharing ideas about how to improve situational awareness, how to make better decisions under stress, and how to train members to be critical thinkers and resilient problem solvers. Membership is free, and when you sign up, you'll get a special report that I've created for the new members. That report's called 25 Best Practices for Improving First Responder Safety. So if you're not a member yet, head over to the SA Matters website, click on the red box on the right side of the homepage that says Free Membership. As a reminder, every episode of the SA Matters radio show has a corresponding show notes page on the SAMatters.com website. All the most recent episodes scroll on the homepage, but for the older episodes, you can go to SAMatters.com / and then enter the episode number, which I always mention at the start of each show. So, for example, if you're interested in accessing, say, episode 65, you could open your internet browser, enter www.samatters.com / 65, and that'll take you to the page that contains the link to that episode. The show notes page also can contain additional information and resources about the episode, and depending on who the guest is, it may also include some incident scene pictures, video, and audio, and contact information for the guest. On the show notes page, you can also ask questions and leave your feedback on the episode. If you want to get connected with me on social media, you can follow @RichGasaway or @SAMatters on Twitter. The SA Matters Twitter community has more than 16,000 followers of our mission to improve first responder safety. And for all those who are following along, thank you for that support. Get connected with me on Periscope, which is a new app by Twitter. that allows me to stream video presentations, and I've already done a half a dozen or so of those video presentations on Periscope, including that presentation at the National Fire Academy. I streamed that live on Periscope. So you can go to get the Periscope app and follow @RichGasaway on Periscope, and you'll get notifications about upcoming live video presentations there. We can also get connected on Facebook by going to facebook.com/groups/SA Matters. I've created a closed Facebook group for members to get connected and share ideas, and I'm in there almost daily answering questions and contributing content. It is a closed group, so you have to submit to when you click to join, it'll send me a notification, and there's no restrictions as far as who can get in, but it is considered a closed group for first responder community, public safety, and those with interest in situational awareness and high-risk decision-making. So you can go to facebook.com/groups/SA Matters. On LinkedIn, you can find me by searching Rich Gasaway, or not just searching Rich Gasaway. And thanks to everybody connected with me on the Facebook group for SA Matters and LinkedIn. I enjoy getting connected with you there as well. If you like the show, please consider going over to iTunes or Stitcher Radio and subscribing. To do that, you search SA Matters Radio, that's SA Matters Radio, and please consider taking some time to leave some feedback while you're there. If you like the show, I'd appreciate it if you give it a 5-star review. That'll motivate me to work harder for you, and it helps others to find the show. Well, that's it. Episode 75 is complete. Thank you to my guest, Shawn Rafferty, for sharing your insight on personal safety, observational awareness, and situational awareness. Thank you to our sponsor, Midwest Fire. Thanks to all of our live event hosts. And thank you, our listeners, for sharing some of your valuable time with me today. I really appreciate your support of the SA Matters mission. Be safe out there, and may the peace of the Lord and strong situational awareness be with you always.
You've been listening to the Situational Awareness Matters radio show with Dr. Richard B. Gasaway. If you are interested in learning more about situational awareness, human factors, and decision-making under stress, visit samatters.com. If you are interested in booking Dr. Gasaway for an upcoming event, visit his personal website at richgasaway.com.